This tonight.
That's right. Hey guys, it's Marriage Mondays. Glad you all are coming to tune in, or have tuned in, or getting ready to tune in. So
that's right.
We said last week we did the things you wanted to know about marriage, things you wish you'd known, things you still want to know about marriage. We did that all last week, and then we mentioned something about finances, and many people had sent us little notes about finances and marriage, and so. First off, I want to start off, and I don't know if anybody's tuned in yet, but I found this little in some of my old notes. It's a picture of a older man and woman walking along arm in arm. You know, they got their little canes, and it says, "A pretty face gets old, a nice body will change, but a good woman will always be a good woman." I like that one.
I like that one. That's that? Very good.
Yeah, and I think that's cute. They got to be elderly people here. Pretty face gets old, a nice body will change, but a good woman will always be a good woman.
I like that. I like that. I can say the same about a man. Tish Junker, thanks for joining us. Tammy, I hope you and Mario are both there. So good to see you, sweetheart. DJ, good to see you. Y'all must have just finished. Thank you. Mehesh gave me this scarf. So River of Life, that would be Pastor Sherry and Pastor Franklin. We're glad you're here with us. Good evening, Cindy and Michelle Alvarez, my spiritual parents, she said.
No, we flew in last night. We came from the Northwest. We were up in the Seattle, Kent, Washington, Maple Valley area, where we had great services up there at the river with Pastors Jack and Joyce Holt. And so those of you that follow our ministry, support our ministry, thank you so much. We had some wonderful services yesterday, and a number of people that were salvations. And
then people get saved.
And then on Saturday night was able to officiate a wedding, and it was a beautiful wedding. So we were so honored to be able to do that, and saw so many of our friends up there that we hadn't seen in a while. It was just great to be back, with the church doors open and back in the house of the Lord. So
yes, it was. It was so good to see everybody. This weekend we'll be in Michigan with a women's retreat up in Mackinac Island, and then Friday, October the 2nd, we'll be at Gilead Healing Center doing a healing and ministry service.
In Lansing? In
Lansing. I hope that's on Kreitz Road. I hope everyone listening will join us that evening at 7 o'clock on Friday evening, and then the weekend on Saturday morning, 9 to noon, and then Sunday morning and Sunday night, we'll be in Grand Blanc with Pastors John and Wendy Gallinetti at the Great Mount Hope Church there on Embury Road.
So if you get a chance or know somebody in the area, 12 times to say I'm sorry when you are wrong.
Come on, say it. Come on, say it. Come on, say that word, Fonzie.
Just not exactly right.
Come on, 12 times to say I'm sorry when you are wrong.
When you are rude. That's the second one.
When you are rude. You know what I'm going to say?
Rude.
The word says a happy heart is a good medicine.
Rude.
When you are rude. 12 times to say you're sorry when you are rude, and when you are... Come on. You can't say it.
It's not exactly right.
I'm not exactly right.
Number 3, when you are defensive.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one. Yeah. And hardest one to get over. Yeah. And that never changes either. Yeah. No matter how long you've been married, the moment you think, or being tired, that's the worst thing. If you're tired, you think everything your mate is saying is meant toward you. And half the time it's not even... You're not even in the thought process, but you take offense to it, and you become defensive.
And when you are impatient.
Oh, yeah. Well, I keeps looking at me because these are
I'm not looking at you. I'm just reading
this.
Well,
they're all my faults, for sure.
No, I'm not
I
saying
can be
that
so impatient. I can be so defensive.
When your life is on the gas pedal all the time, and some of us are trying to pull the little brake lever of it.
Yeah.
Okay, when you're negative.
No, that one's hardly ever applies to me.
No, and I wouldn't say I'm negative a lot. I wouldn't say I am cautiously optimistic with things, but I want to make sure that I've researched it before. I speak or I take
Yeah, you know what that
action
is?
on
That's
it.
negative.
That's not negative. That's
I
not
love this
negative.
big, long definition.
No, that's not. No, because there are times when you say to me in the morning, you say, I've got this great revelation, and you blah, 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 blah. And I say, give me a minute to ponder on it. Some of us process it.
You're a processor.
So you might take that as negative, and that might be a good word for somebody. Some people, you say, well, you always act like that because, you're just negative. No, let me process a little bit.
You are a processor. Now let's
some people could take that as negative.
You were negative in your old man, but that old man is dead and gone, and none of us are going to be looking back at our old man.
Do you want me to get the file cabinet
No.
out and dig up everything from the old?
No.
Where'd you go with that?
So I'm just saying that some
that
people.
was very negative.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That was very negative.
You're really
Wait,
reaching
let me
for when
tell
you
you-
were old, man.
Wait, let's see who else is
An
joining
old
us.
man now.
Gene and Bob are joining us, and John and Judy are joining us, and River of Life says, what is the date of Friday service in Lansing? Oh, that's October the 2nd. And then October 3rd and 4th will be in Grand Blanc. Thanks for asking that. Tammy says, I'm tired just listening to your schedule. Oh, my goodness. And Colby, I've always wanted to go to Mackinac. It's going to be an exciting weekend. This is my second time. Harry grew
So
up in
good to see you
Michigan.
this weekend, Colby. You and the family look great.
Oh.
Number 6, when you are hurtful. Yeah,
That's a good time to say I'm sorry.
yeah. When you're hurtful.
Yeah, and honestly,
What did they say? You can kill Barbie with just your words.
yeah, you've said that for years. I think we got that from Gregory Pope. He said Ken should not kill Barbie. If you want a Barbie doll, you better not kill her with your words. I love that, and it's true too. Words can really hurt a woman. Even I'm not saying words don't hurt a man, but they really hurt a woman because we're so wordy. So we can get hurt very easy in that area.
We'll see John and Judy this coming week. We're so looking forward to it. We sent some photos out as we flew in, and I see you said Bob and Jean have tuned in, have joined us because as we flew over from Washington State down to California, many of the areas we couldn't see because they were covered in smoke, but then we got probably 30 minutes from here, and then as we began to land,
And it was dark.
and we could see the fires that were just everywhere.
Yeah,
and
you were making pictures
I don't
of-
want to be exaggerating, but it just you could just see him and see him and see him and see him, and then you just see little rings of fires and mountains and things of that nature, and then you saw the smoke.
Please keep praying for
yes,
the West,
and,
everybody.
and
Let me tell you who else is with us.
and let me just say,
Okay.
I'm glad Bob and Jean are doing well.
What a
because of the
miracle
fires.
for
Yeah.
them. We have such a miracle there.
When you're insensitive,
That's a big one.
when you are forgetful,
Yeah, that's a good time to say I'm sorry, honestly. And at 63, I can be more forget, especially because I live with my hair on fire, running as fast as I can. I do forget things.
yours are either going to be forgetful or you just can't hear.
Well, it's not
So,
that I can't hear; it's that I'm
you
so
selective
focused.
hearing, yes, and
I'm so focused.
yeah, that's why I do so many notes. Because we tend to have that little lapse of memory. So,
We have Rhonda, and I hope Kevin is with you, Rhonda. I'll see you this weekend at the retreat. Laura and Mark are with us. I'm so glad to see you two. Tiffany Lawler is here. Hopefully Chris is with you. Melissa Winburn is here.
when you're confused or are confusing, we had to go through one of those roundabout turns this week. And
Harry
the
hates those
GPS
roundabouts.
thing said,
Take the second
take the second right.
which
okay?
would have meant go straight through, basically.
That meant go straight through. So I took the second right and then go through the straight through. And you said, you're supposed to go straight through. The woman didn't say go straight through. She said take the second
Well, the
right.
roundabouts are 3 rights.
That's confusing.
You have to choose.
And
Yeah.
you sided
It
with
is.
her.
Well, I'm just saying it was the second right to drive through, and you went right past it to the third right.
So here's what I have for all you men. Get the woman off your GPS in your car and get a man to give you
I
direction.
put a man on mine, and you said you didn't like it, so.
Have neglected, ignored, or overlooked something important to the one you love. That's very important, especially anniversaries. Just remember the time that I kind of Well, I didn't forget it. I just didn't prepare for it.
And that's a lot of times we
Yeah.
don't forget, but we don't prepare. And honestly, you
Someone
are
sent flowers to the office, and I took the card off and
brought it home and tried to pretend like he did it. But let me just say, that was in the very beginning.
I'd have made it, except my secretary
Had
ratted
already
me
called
out.
me. Here's the truth, though. You are not one to forget special occasions.
No.
You are very prepared. You're one of your love languages is gift giving,
Yeah.
and so he seldom misses that. So I'm not even going to let you pretend like you're bad at that.
No, but I mean that's a very important thing. When this is, I've neglected, I ignored, or I overlooked something that's important, and that means that it might not be important to you, but it is important to somebody else.
Right.
And so you're very good at that, especially, and the children are. Especially days like when my dad passed or my mom passed, and same with your father. Those are things that we should.
It's funny how
remember.
when
you
someone
remember the car accident date, to the day.
It's funny how when you remember those things for other people, even a lot of times people, like when Gabrielle passed November 23rd, or even her birthday, May 26th, I have this handful of friends that never forgets. And I know they probably wondered in the beginning, should I say something? Yes, because we're never going to forget those days. And it means a lot when you just say, just thinking of you, celebrating Gabrielle's birthday, or just thinking about today. It means a lot to people when you remember the things that mean a lot to them.
Have damaged or misused something that is not yours, even if it was an accident.
And that's a good time to say,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Have not said I'm sorry as sincerely or quickly as the situation needed. And that's one of the things, and that's one of the last things that I wanted to get to about marriage, is that instead of letting something dwell or something to grow, it's better just come out and say, I'm sorry, let's try and get this thing worked out. As the Bible say, never let the sun go down on your wrath. So,
yeah, ignoring it and pretend like it didn't happen is not going to make the other person feel right.
Mm-hmm.
You need to bring it up, deal with the elephant in the room, as they say, and just say you're sorry. And don't say you're sorry with an explanation of why you did it. Nobody cares at that point. You need to just say you're sorry and swallow every other word you want to say, because it's all going to come out like justification. Even if you are trying to do something, just leave it alone. Just say I'm sorry and forget it. And then honestly try to be different, because I'm sorry, if all you ever say is I'm sorry, the other person just wishes you'd be different instead of sorry all the time. Cheryl Norton's joining us, said, so good to see us on Sunday. Thank you so much. She said, good word. Krista and Spencer are with us. Danielle is laying down, but said she's been healed of vertigo ever since we prayed for her. Laura Kokenauer is with us. Yay, yay, yay. Holly and Pastor Dave, I'm assuming, is with you also. Mary is with us. The Ellies are with us. Jennifer Busby is with us. Hopefully you're not alone there, but who knows if your husband is out sheriff in the county. Yes, it does mean a lot, Jennifer, when others remember those anniversaries. You're exactly right. I don't know if I missed somebody. If I did, I didn't mean to, but thank you all for joining us tonight.
So here's just a couple things, and then we're going to get deeper into the household finance and practical teaching for finance. But here's a couple of little pointers for you. Spending without a budget. Now, I know faith people have to be careful, because they say, I'm believing God every day for everything. We believe God every day for our finances, for our income, our resources. But we also,
we don't spend by
I want us to understand that we have a budget. Now, one of the key things that we do is, now people understand about tithing. If you're a believer and you tithe, the 10% of the whole of your income.
Right.
But on the other hand of that, like what went on for us in this pandemic situation, we pre-tithed. Mm-hmm. So we were already tithed up. Even if we didn't have to tithe
Absolutely.
during the pandemic, we had pre-tithed. Now, some people say, what do you mean by pre-tithing? We give, and somebody said, well, it's an offering. No, we give based on what we want, what we're believing for. So you tithe off of what you've earned. So that is what the Bible says. But if you want increase, We give for increase.
Right. We tithe on what we're believing God for increase.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you might say that's just tithing and then offering. It isn't to us.
No, an offering is you give for a specific thing. Like
Right,
we
and we
give
do that
to
too.
a traveling ministry, or we
Right.
give to the Coats for Children and
Right.
at Christmas time, or the Christmas tree
Right.
fund, things of that nature that we do,
Right.
food banks and other things of that nature. But we've just determined in our heart that we were going to pre-tithe, expecting more than what we
Than
had
what we're taking in.
the past. So that's one way. So, and having a budget gives you some guidelines. They're not stop signs, they're guidelines, and they're really not boundaries because you're not limited by that. But it just gives you baselines,
Right.
as far as I'm concerned. And businesses have to work on a budget, and that's one of the things that when we deal with young people, they say, "Well, what's your budget?" We haven't had one. We've never had one. Well, that's why you're in trouble.
That's why you're in debt.
And if you can, you can stop really being so attached to a budget when you can control
Right.
your income
when you,
and spending.
When you learn.
When you control your spending.
That's right.
It's not the income. It's the outgo. It's like a funnel. A funnel goes like this, and then it has, it's a V like that, or a Y. And this is your income, and this should be your outgo.
Right. Should be a lot more coming in than going out.
But where the danger is in finances and household income, I call it the inverted funnel, where the spigot's this small and the outgo is like that, and you're in very, very much trouble when you do that. So you need to look at it this way, and so one of the really bad things. And this is something that you can work on, is carrying balances on credit cards.
Right.
It is just, we teach on this so much, is that, so many times, like me, I'll look and I'll shop and I'll watch and I'll try and get the best purchase I can on the best price. But then if you put it on a credit card and you can't pay it right off, you're paying that percentage, whatever it is, over the next 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months. So it
That's
really
right.
doesn't matter what you pay for it because or spending on it, because that's not really what you're paying for if you carry a balance in your credit card.
I'm just writing notes as you're talking. First of all, you said don't spend by faith. I've never heard that statement. It's so powerful. I wrote it in the comments. You don't spend by faith. You believe God, and He gives it ahead of time, but you don't spend believing God to give you what you need to pay. Oh, wow. That's just a great statement. Don't spend by faith. And then you just said about the credit card, and I wrote down, letting credit cards carry your payment is like borrowing money from a loan shark. The interest can be
well,
so
I wouldn't
high.
say that. I wouldn't go to that, but it no.
It can be, though.
Well, you have to be careful about that, honey, because and this is one of the things I talk about credit cards is you should have 3 credit cards in my opinion. One that you use for the purchase that you want to have. One that's an emergency credit card.
In case something happens you're not expecting.
That's right. In case there's a medical emergency, and that's why I don't get so strict about the carrying the credit cards. Because if you have a medical emergency,
You have to.
You have to. And then the third one that I talk about.
Would that be even like if your refrigerator breaks, or
Well, no, I'll go into that later
okay.
on. But I'm talking about a medical emergency, something that unexpected medical emergency. The third one that I say that you have is one that you keep for all your expenses that you use for your taxes. So you categorize that.
Oh, so that card is only used so that when you get
you
that
can
bill,
track it.
everything for your taxes is on that bill. So you don't have to go through and sort out, no,
Right.
this was not for... Oh, great idea.
Yeah. Or some people say, well, that's a business credit card. That's fine if that's when if you have a home business. But I say that's one for that. And
I want you to say those 3 again, because just in case...
one that you use basically like for your gasoline and situation, like personal charges that you use on a credit card. One for emergencies, and then the third one that you use for to keep track for your taxes.
Now, how do you get a credit card with less interest rate?
Well, you have to have better credit.
Okay, so the higher
Now,
your credit...
there are some that have introductory offers of 0% interest, but then you have to be careful because once that year goes by, they
may hike up.
might hike up.
So
I
just
don't know.
watch and pay attention.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, so if it's an introductory offer of 0%, that's but you have to read everything. So
Okay, and while Harry's talking, please, if you have questions, go ahead and ask them. Yeah, I know you guys are great at asking questions, but a lot of times we get all the questions when we're signing off.
well,
so
here's another one. Failing to understand or realize how much little purchase add up to a big expense. We used to do that. We used to have checkbooks. Now, pretty much everybody uses credit cards, but $5 here, $7 here, $8 here, $3 there. And one of the things I always say is when you use a debit card, most people they don't keep the receipts for debit cards anymore.
So the money goes like a big.
And by the time the middle of the month, and you don't keep track of the little things, you have too much month at the end of your money, and it becomes a surprise to you.
Now, I remember years ago when I was trying to help a young lady, I told her, take out X amount of cash. Keep the cash in your purse for anything under $10, so that you don't write a check or use
But
debit.
we're living in a different generation now.
That's
it's
true.
so
That's true.
little of cash that is used.
I'm still old school
no,
about cash.
and even checks that are so very very little of that.
So just keep a record is what you're saying. You got to keep good records or you'll spend more money than you realize.
Right. And those just are a couple little things there. So any other questions?
Not yet. No one's asking any questions.
There was a statistics, and it was a few years back, because some of these are some of my older notes, but 75% of divorces over money. And that's how they when they want to teach you about money. Well, we believe that more people end up splitting up over selfishness.
But that's generally affects the money. It's when you're selfish about the money. And that's one thing that I had to learn when we first married. I was so used to being, I didn't even know how to be married. I didn't know how to be one. I certainly didn't trust. I didn't know how. And I had always run my own money.
Now, John, you're listening. You and Judy, you have any comments? John's a very good businessman, very successful in business.
So if you know
have anything
answers,
to add to this.
And even like Pastor Sherry and Pastor Franklin and Pastor Holly and Pastor Dave, you're all watching, all these pastors that are here. If you have answers that we're not answering
Because you
properly,
deal with this with your church folks. But the Bible says, and I remember the Message Bible, it says, don't push your way to the front, don't sweet talk your way to the top.
Philippians.
Put yourself aside to let others get ahead, and that's the opposite of being selfish.
Right.
And what that is, honey, now you want me to look really good when I go out, and we're going to go to this event this week, and honey, da 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 da.
Right.
And so you're
Don't
really
be
sweet
selfish.
talking yourself, and the next thing you know, you could be in financial trouble. So.
Philippians 2, we were reading out of Philippians. You were just saying in the Message, but the Passion reads like this: joined together in perfect unity. Look at how much encouragement you found in your relationship with the Anointed One. You're filled to overflowing with His comforting love. You've experienced a deepening friendship with the Holy Spirit and have felt His tender affection and mercy. So, I'm asking you, my friends, that you be joined together in perfect unity with one heart, one passion, and united in one love. Walk together with one harmonious purpose, and you will fill my heart with unbounded joy. Be free from pride-filled, that's selfish, opinions, for they will only harm your cherished unity. Don't allow self-promotion to hide in your hearts, but in authentic humility put others first and view others as more important than yourselves. Abandon every display of selfishness. Possess a greater concern for what matters to others instead of your own interests, and consider the example that Jesus, the Anointed One, has set before us. Let His mindset become your motivation, and that's the Passion Translation. If you don't have one, we do have those in our website, salemfamilyministries.org. You can order the Passion Translation. I love the way it reads.
I mentioned using a credit card and saying if you buy something, you shop for it, and you got a really good deal on it, and then you put it on time, you're just paying so much more for it. But there is a way that you can allow it to be put on the credit card if your interest that you're paying on it doesn't exceed the original retail price of something.
Give an example
So,
of that.
well, let's say that we're going to buy a washing machine and it was $500, but on a Labor Day sale it's $300, and you don't have the $300, but you know that you can do $100 a month. The interest rate that you're going to pay on that $300 would not exceed the $500, so you're still saving money.
Right.
But you have to
Think that one through.
no, you have to be disciplined enough to make sure that you pay that in 3 months.
There you go.
Because then you won't exceed. And there are some really good deals at times when you
Right.
can get something
And
like that.
you do need to use your credit
Absolutely.
card to do so.
And
We do have some questions very quickly. A lady asked last week, and I promised her I would ask you. I answered her in the comments. She said, I want to tithe, but my husband won't tithe. What am I to do? Now, I won't tell you what I said, but I'll wait for you to answer, and then I'll tell you what I answered to her.
Well, I don't, because I'm not a marriage counselor, and to me that gets in the middle of being a counselor, because I never have. I avoid strife in our marriage at all costs. Now the Bible's very clear about tithing money, but
There are other things.
there are other things that you can do to give of your time, your effort, your prayers, your volunteer, as a favor, as a service unto the Lord. And I never would say to you, do something against what your husband's wishes are. But if you could do this in the interim and say, I'm volunteering my time for this, and you can see the reward, then he might say, wait a minute, why are you being so
Why are you
blessed?
so blessed?
You used to give things away, and I'd say to you, you know, you're giving your blouses away, you're giving that away, you'd give a piece of jewelry away, and then you'd get so much back. And I said, nobody ever gives me anything. She says, have you ever tried to give anything away? And I
It's
thought,
all
nobody
about
wanted
harvest.
my junk. So.
It's all about harvest. Well,
But-
let me tell you what I told her, and I learned it from your mama. Your mama
I know.
used to say,
I know.
you tithe on the money that you're responsible for. She was given a budget to run the house on.
She gave $2 out of her grocery
She
money.
got $20
She
a
cut
week.
coupons
And God
to
always
make up
blessed
that
her.
$2.
That's right. And she tithed off of the money that she was responsible for. And to the day she died, she never was without a place to live
but-
or a roof over her head.
But
So-
even that, my father still had a problem with that. I mean, so, but my dad was one of the most generous people you'll ever meet. But
he just didn't understand tithing.
No, he would provide a vehicle for the pastor of a ministry, a church, or something like that. He just didn't understand the cash giving aspect about it. So
Thanks,
it's a
Joe
different-
Vaughn. Thanks for joining us. Ellie said, if you're looking to leave your current job, would you give a special offering?
Well, remember, it's always more memorable how you leave somewhere than how you came somewhere, because you might remember your job interview and how you dressed and everything else. Probably the people who interviewed you won't, but they will definitely remember how you left. And so how you're always leaving somewhere is, I always like to say, do you want promotion? Mm-hmm. And that's the whole thing, is do you want promotion? Do you want God to promote you? So how are you leaving? We always sow when we've left something. When we leave a church, we leave something, we sow, because we have other things that we want. So I would say absolutely.
And so in this case, she may be working in a secular job, and she's just wondering, should she give an offering not to the job but somewhere else?
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a way to do that, and there's also a way to work an extra 2 hours before you leave,
Mm-hmm.
because now you're sowing and reaping as you want to reap. You're sowing into the same like kind.
And especially if you're moving one job and going to another, if you're wanting a raise at the next job, that would be like our pre-tithing.
Yes.
You would be giving an offering to what you're hoping that
Yes.
that you can get a raise in that position.
See, so many people tie everything that we do to money. Now, I understand the biblical principles of tithing, but the Bible says, it's very clear. It says, "Beloved, above all things, I want you to prosper." So when people talk about the prosperity gospel as something, you have to be careful where the Lord set that up. He says, "I want you to prosper." That means He wants you to do well,
Right.
in all things.
God's way is for you
All
to do
things.
well.
And then He says, "I want you to be in health." Okay, even as your soul prospers. And I spoke to someone recently, and they said, if I just give money to the church, but I'm giving it begrudgingly. I said, you're never going to see a harvest on that. But God's law says he will bless you because of the principle of giving and receiving. But you're never going to feel any joy from that because you're giving begrudgingly. It's about your heart. Be happy in what you're doing.
Joyful, a prompt to do it, hilarious giver, Luke talks about.
So it's about the heart.
I pray that you're prospering in every way and that you continually enjoy good health just as your soul is prospering.
So it says in every way, which
In every
means,
way.
There are people who have a lot of money, but they're not happy. There are people who have a lot of money, but they're not healthy. There are a lot of people. We could go on and on and on.
Prosperity is so much more than finances.
Or they might have money and they're terminally ill. You know what I mean? So
every walk of your life has to do with prosperity. Even peace in your marriage means you're prosperous. Happiness between you and your children, and peace between you and your children, and that your children are doing well and making good choices. All of that's prosperity.
You have a monthly expenses, gas, water, electric, phone, etc. You could put those on direct withdrawals from your bank right off, so your bills are being paid first, and then the remainder. We talk about how do you pay for a broken dishwasher that's coming up. And one of the things that I did put in here, it's a funny thing. I'm just going to skip through because maybe we'll do some of these next week. But
maybe we will do this a couple because I got questions too.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. One of the things I always say is you need to have 3 months of operational money in the bank if you can. I know people live paycheck to paycheck to paycheck, and you're going to say, but you don't know how hard it is. We live paycheck to paycheck to paycheck.
And we do understand that it happens.
We all have been there.
We've all been there at some point.
Listen, I remember when all the money I had was in a Maxwell House coffee can, and I'm not talking about the
big
the 2 pound one. I'm talking about the
The
little
little can.
one. And I had a little slit in the top to even just drop coins in there.
Right.
But we also say that if you take money and it's changed from somewhere where you purchased, you throw it in the ashtray of your car. We've done this. And
We've actually done
You
this.
take that change and you keep it for a year. By the end of the year, you've got about $500 worth of loose change.
That's
We've
right.
done that.
Every year, you can't believe how much loose change adds up. We've even done it in our boys' life. We had a water bottle for both of them, and every time we would just throw loose change in, all of a sudden everybody comes for a visit, sees it, they throw their loose change.
Well, the Bible says if you're faithful over little, he'll give you much. And he also said to Zerubbabel, do not despise the times of small beginnings.
Small beginnings.
So what I'm saying
changes.
is you take $500 and you put that in an account, and then if you don't touch it, that's your emergency. And if you can save it for the next year, then you don't touch it. And we did that. We said if you can do that for 18 years, you get $9,000 after, and that's enough to send a child to junior college. I mean, there's just
There are ways.
There are ways. Loose
But you
change.
have to pay attention.
Or take that loose change, as I believe that.
Colby just said, that's crazy.
But as I think Judy, if she's still watching, I remember her story. She took the change from her purse and put it in the offering plate, and how
Because
her
that's what she had
testimony
to
came
give.
out of that because she came out of that. So you can save the loose change, or you can tithe that loose change because you can multiply that loose change.
Tammy
But-
asked a really good question. She said, Harry, how can you give us a few examples of how people could increase their credit score?
Well, one of the ways is you can contact the credit company, because there might be some things that are on your credit report that they could drop off, because you could say you need to check that. Maybe there was a bill that showed up on there and you paid that bill, and you have the receipts of that bill and you can show it's billed, and they have the company that put that on your credit report and never removed it. You could contact them for that.
Oh, now wait just a minute. Okay, I'm like Tammy sitting here going, now wait, who do I contact?
There's
Not my credit card company.
No, the people that do there's 3 that do the credit card
Okay,
scores.
so it's one of the card score places.
Yes.
You just contact them and ask what's keeping your score low.
I think once a year they'll send you a free report. Don't quote me on that, but I believe that they will. And at one time we were getting that, so I could always check that. And I'm speaking from experience, because we had a medical bill that we didn't know about.
Didn't even know it was on there.
Didn't even know it was on there, and it was back years ago when we were traveling, and I don't think they had our proper address or something of that nature.
And it showed up on our
and
credit.
it showed up there, and then I was able to contact the place. Oh yeah, your insurance company did take care of that. It took a while, blah 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 blah, and we were able to get that dropped off.
So just
but
by
I believe that was
calling.
on your number, your Social Security number.
I think it was. Now, DJ said using automatic payments helps too because it makes you stay on budget and it keeps you timely paying.
Exactly. One of the things they look at is your timely payments.
If you pay on time or if you pay late.
And if you pay late. Now, they also determine your credit score by short-term credit and long-term credit. Short-term credit is your credit card. Long-term would be a house payment.
Mm-hmm.
Long-term could also be a car payment, things like that, installment loans.
So which one hurts your credit the most?
Well, missing a payment
Of anything.
of anything hurts
Okay.
you, and then not paying something hurts you extremely.
You're not finishing paying for something? Is
Well,
that
not
what you're
paying it. I mean, having that debt that you didn't pay it.
Okay.
I mean, those are the things that ding you. They'll really ding you for those.
Okay, so Joe said, I learned decades ago to give first and expect a return, to plant seeds in faith. I learned I couldn't outgive God and that He really gives more than enough. And that is absolutely true, Joe. Absolutely, absolutely true. If you give first and then make your payments, that's why it's called first fruits. And then that's why if you study out the way we've taught on the tithe, that the first is marked for destruction in Leviticus, the first of the tenth, so that and it becomes the prince or the warrior of the whole of your income. So wherever your tithe goes, the first 10% of your whole of your income, wherever that goes, it actually rules the rest of your money. So if you don't give first, if you give to pay your credit card, then all the rest of the money have to follow behind and have to go in credit. We've taught this visually many times, and it's just a mentality for you to pay your credit last and to pay your tithe first. And it's just amazing what it makes the difference for you when you think of God before you think of anything else. It's just amazing. There's no way to explain it in the natural, but it is a spiritual principle that seems to work every time.
Now, we'll go over these later on, but one of the things that I try and instill in our children, and I know that they do this, is we were in Tennessee and gas was $1.69 a gallon. I think we were in Texas, was under $2 a gallon. Out here it's in the mid threes if you can find it for that. And so with gas being so high, I tell the children, listen, if you have to go out and run your errands, make sure that you A, B, C, D, post office, bank, store, wherever you have to go, make that one circle so that you're not using it. And those are little things, but if you're not paying attention and you're on a tight budget, those are little things that you plan out your day, to save gasoline in your car. I mean, there's the little things. People say, well, if you got to listen, it's the little things.
It is the little things, and it'll always be the little things. Even the scripture says in Song of Solomon, let the little foxes spoil the vine.
My dad used to say like this. He said I always like for the muddy, rainy, snowy days. He was a car dealer, and I said, Dad, why do you like this? Because people like to sell dirty cars. He said when they're clean, they don't want to trade them in. And so that's the thing I got in my mind is, if you want to trade in your car, first go and clean it, and then you'll think about it. Because my dad used to say
That's true. That's
they
funny.
like to trade in dirty
So just
cars.
cleaning up your car will make you want to keep it sometimes.
I know that's goofy,
Sometimes
but
just opening up the doors and getting the trash out of the floor.
he said, I look at those rainy, muddy days and say, we're going to sell some cars today.
That's right. It's true. You have to just trust God, but you also have to be smart and use your budget and write things down and don't just live vicariously through your dreams. And I love Psalm 23 that says, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. My daddy used to say, don't want what you don't have the money to pay for. And
Right.
that changed the way I lived my life. Just keeping your wants down. So many times we waste money on things that
Well,
at
maybe-
that spur of the moment we wanted
Maybe
it.
next week we'll talk more about the 30-day supply of money, 30-day supply of food. And I've never been so right in all my life about
As you-
having a 30-day or a 90-day pantry as I've been right now. And
You've taught this as
I've
long
taught
as we've
that,
been
taught to the
married.
kids and everything else. But I had something in the back of my head and I just forgot it.
Oh,
So.
no. Well, you were talking about 30 days. And,
Yeah, no, something else. So.
well, let me see if there are any question. Amy said, find a rewards credit card and pay your utilities with it. Pay it off at the end of the month. It's like getting a discount on your utilities. Yes, we use, all of our cards have rewards. We don't waste any cards not having rewards. And also, I'm not sure what this means, Amy. Charge-offs, collections, or slow pays hurt your score. All of you are giving such good help
Yes.
to one another. So thank you so much. Angela said, so good. I was told once, people always want to give advice, but always take advice from someone that is where you want to be or where you want to end up. That's right. Always find someone to receive from that is where you want to be. And that's John and Judy taught that and they wrote a book on it called Upward Giving. You want to make sure you're covenanting with people that you want to be like. You want to be where they are, and you're divinely connecting and moving upward even through your covenant with them. I'm teaching most of you know I'm teaching Genesis right now every day, and when Melchizedek and Abraham, that's the first mention of tithe. And so many people say the tithe is under the law. It is not. The tithe was long before the law was given with Moses. The tithe was with Melchizedek, who was actually Jesus as the king of Salem coming in the flesh, and Abraham gave to Jesus talk about a first fruits, gave to Jesus, and he gave the tenth. And the tithe has nothing to do with the law of Moses. The tithe is a covenant that Abraham, the father of blessing, it was all about him being the father of blessing, and it started with his divine connection to Jesus. And so there is such a beautiful thing there.
And I just remember what I was saying. Remember that money is a tool. It's like a shovel is a tool in your hands, and you use it to plant and move the dirt. A spatula is a tool when you're cooking. Money's just a tool. It's like a hammer. It's a tool.
That's true.
And so if you understand that it's just a tool to help you build something, build your future, build your kids' college fund, build your home, build your retirement. It's a tool. But if you don't take care of your tools, like I always tell the children, don't put the tools back where you got them. If you leave them out in the yard and they rust, guess what? We're not going to have those tools anymore, or we're going to have to borrow some tools to get the job done. And so you just remember, it's like a tool, and you have to maintain them.
And remember also how you speak about your finances. Your words have so much power. When you receive your paycheck and you say this will never be enough, it will never be enough, because you just spoke over it, and now you believe what you're saying about your finances. Just receive what God sends you and says, thank God, this is more than enough, because I serve a God who's more than enough. And people say, oh, that's silly. It is not silly. It works. I started early in my life, 15 years old working, 15 years old tithing. The moment I started getting finances, I started tithing. I've been a tither all my life, and I have never been in debt. And so this is something that you have to develop a lifestyle of giving, a lifestyle of trusting God.
I have different definition of debt, and we might just talk about that next week.
Well, you can give it now. Maybe they can think about it. Amy said money is a tool.
Well, my definition of debt is not that we're given a tool called a mortgage on our home so that we can have a place to live. I'll venture to say everybody has slept somewhere every night of their life.
Right.
Okay? So they provided with this way to have a mortgage. But debt is if you have to work 2, 3, 4 jobs to pay for that mortgage, then you have your debt lords over you.
Right.
But if you use the mortgage as a tool to have the home,
right.
I mean, and so you have to look at that. You just can't be enslaved to debt, and that's where when you go and purchase big purchases like a home or a car or situations or even a washer dryer, that you go in and you set your sights. This is my budget. Don't let anybody move you or upsell you
Right.
into
From
something
what you went in
into
for.
something you can't afford. They'll say, "Well, it's only $40 a month more," and what is that? It's a meal out, or what is that? It's just a few hours more work. Well, wait a minute. That's a few hours more work. That means a few hours more away from my husband or my wife or my children.
Don't move
So
the line.
Don't let them do that to you. You stay steady.
And don't go
say, if
in.
it's only $40 more to me, then I'll tell you what. Why don't you discount it that $40?
That's right.
It won't be
if
that
you want
much
me to
you.
have it, and there it is. You go in to purchase anything with what you know you can afford. And Harry will tell you this.
I
is
always
how
say you go in and you try and go in at least 10 to 15%. Your target is 15%. Less than what you can afford, and then if there is something that you want to add on a little bit more, you're still within your budget.
Well, I know anytime we buy anything, and I'm involved with my part of it, which I am a good negotiator and I love doing it, but I am, what do you call it, a rock spider?
You can't move you.
I'm a rock spider. You'll never move me or upsell me because I know. I don't want people to be my influence. I want God to be my influence. You shouldn't be buying anything without the Spirit of God giving you peace.
Definition of a good deal is when both people walk away from the table and they're very happy.
And they're happy. That's right. Healthy boundaries, Amy calls it. That's right. That's absolutely right. Well, we just love all of you so much. And now, what are we going to talk about next week?
Well, we can talk more about this next week. We have more of the financial teaching that we have on household income. And expenses next week, we could talk about that. Unless there's other topics that you all would like to talk about.
Well, let me just say right now, we will be on the road, and we will have John and Judy with us. So I'm giving you a week's notice, John and Judy, to be able, especially since we'll be talking about finances. And John is an expert for sure. And Judy's done well to stay within her budget. I'm prophesying now.
Well, it's you can't outgive God, so you make sure that you have that, as you said, the first fruits, and that's one of the things that we always say to people: you just flat can't outgive God.
Colby said, my dad taught me that with buying a car. Don't get emotional, or you will always go higher than your number. Just walk away. Just walking away is the right answer. If God is your source, and He is, why would you let someone else talk you into what God can lead you to and give you a miracle for? About everything we own, we have a story that goes with it of how God provided it, how God gave it to us, how He gave it to us for a supernatural deal. Almost everything we own, we have an answer like that. And you know what is fun about that? The fun is giving God the glory and being able to testify, isn't it?
Yes, but there's also, and I don't mean to be negative because we're talking about being negative, but if you're dealing with someone or negotiating with someone, and you are being so belligerent and hard nosed, and this person is trying to do their very best for you, and now they're getting agitated, and when you walk away, you say, "Well, God bless me." Did He really bless you, or did that man sit there and say, "I have a bad opinion of Christians now because of the way that person acted"? And I'm saying that because there's a point in time, like I say, a good deal is when everybody walks away happy, and you have to also maintain your honor.
And so remember who you're representing the whole time.
Absolutely. I'd rather people say, he gave me a little bit more. He was an honorable person.
He was kind.
Because the next time you come around, they'll remember that.
They will remember that. That's true. And a happy heart doeth good like a medicine in all aspects of life. So if you can learn to laugh, even when you're being led by the Holy Spirit and you're negotiating, always be happy. Put a big smile on your face. It goes a million miles further with a big smile on your face and a happy sound in your voice, especially now that we have to wear a mask. You need to put a big smile on your face so they can see you smiling in your eyes. It's true, right?
Absolutely. Anything else there?
Any more questions? I don't see any questions, just lots of good comments. Thank y'all so much for joining us. Don't forget Thursday nights, prayer time together.
No, this Thursday night.
We'll be flying.
This Thursday night, yes, we'll be flying on Thursday night.
Maybe we'll do it Wednesday.
So yeah, why don't you just check back with us for Wednesday night,
There you
because
go.
Thursday night we won't get into a late
That's true. We'll
East
be
Coast
flying.
time, so we will be traveling on Thursday.
That's true. That's true. So we'll do our best to do it Wednesday night, and don't forget. Every day we are doing Genesis. Already finished 21 chapters. Really, really good stuff happening there, and the Lord is moving. We love you all. Thanks so much. Don't forget, October the 2nd at Gilead Healing Center, October the 3rd and 4th in Grand Blanc, and this weekend, Mackinac Island Women's Retreat. Woo! It's going to be exciting.
Wonderful.
We love you.